Should Jey Uso fans be concerned? I think they should. In today's video, I'm going to be explaining why I think you guys should be concerned. Because as a Jey Uso fan, I'm concerned. Now, we all know that Jey Uso had an absolute breakout year this year, right? From winning the Royal Rumble, doing so by eliminating John freaking Cena, going on, winning the World Heavyweight Championship, beating Gunther, and having the title for a little bit, ultimately dropping it to Gunther. Things did not work out for him in the King of the Ring tournament, and he is now coming off of a major loss at SummerSlam. In fact, if you look at it, this past week on Monday Night Raw coming out of SummerSlam, this man wasn't even on Monday Night Raw. At SummerSlam, it was Roman Reigns and he going over Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed. It was a massive, massive win for him, right? Sharing the spotlight with one of WWE's biggest stars. And as a Jey Uso fan, I am happy to see that he got such a big win. Now, on this week's episode of Monday Night Raw, Roman Reigns was laid out by Braun Breaker, Bronson Reed, and Seth Rollins, and Jey Uso was nowhere to be found. Now, I don't know what to make of that. I don't know if that's a situation where he needed time off. I don't know if it was a situation where they didn't want him on the show and get beat down because that was a write-off angle for Roman Reigns. He's going to have to explain his absence. But I want to preference something, and I want to talk about this because it got me thinking. If you look at the trajectory of Jey Uso in 2025, right? He went from losing to Gunther, okay, at Saturday Night's Main Event, winning the Royal Rumble, picking Gunther yet again, beating Gunther for the world title, and not really having a huge run as world champion. A lot of people thought he was just a fad, right? I think that Jey Uso still gets massive ovations, but I am concerned that he's never going to get a main event run again, right? Because I think he was a guy that got over like Rover because of a catchphrase, and he was extremely popular. And so WWE saw an opportunity to make a guy or try to make a guy, make him world champion, and try to make the belt make the guy instead of the guy make the belt. Now, this is coming from a Jey Uso fan. I feel like Jey Uso has been able to do something that not a lot of people can do. I understand there's a lot of wrestling purists out there that say, oh, you have to be a five-star wrestler. I understand there's a lot of people that go, well, you don't have to be the greatest wrestler, but you need to have a promo. My thing has always been, you can be the greatest wrestler in the world. You can be the greatest promo in the world. But if you can't resonate and if you can't connect with a fan base, then you're never going to be a major star because no one's going to care about what you are saying or what you are doing in the ring, right? That's just my opinion. You look at AEW, they have a lot of talented in-ring workers. Not a lot of people care about all those wrestlers, right? They only care about a few. That's always been the case. The breakout stars, the main eventers, the mega stars have always been able to do one thing, and it is connect with the audience. And Jey Uso was able to do that. And so WWE, as we saw in the Unreal series, it was a situation where, hey, Jey Uso is not only getting over with the fans, but he has a connection with those fans and he makes them believe in him and they want to see him succeed and they care about him, right? And WWE for 2023 and especially 2024, he would always have these big opportunities, yet he would fail every single time. Instead of wavering, instead of going away from Jey Uso and stop believing in Jey Uso, they still showed up every single week and yeeted with this man. As we saw with the Unreal series, Michael Hayes and others pushed for Jey Uso to not only win the Royal Rumble, but to win the world title at WrestleMania because it is a situation in which if you have someone that is organically over, then run with it until it runs out of steam, right? Jey Uso is not the greatest promo in the world. He says yeet way too much. And his wrestling is not the greatest, but he connects with the fan base. There was a major concern on WWE Unreal, which was Jey Uso getting extremely winded because of his entrance, and that you can't get winded like that and then go out there and expect to work a 30-minute match or do a 20-minute promo segment when you're huffing and puffing. WWE basically told you at WrestleMania, this guy just peaked because they didn't do anything with him as world champion. His world title run was an afterthought. It sucked. And then they just lost it to Gunther. So I think it was a situation in which they gave him the ball and then they realized, you know what, we don't want to fully give you the ball. Like we're going to give you this title, but you're really not the guy, right? We're just doing this as a feel-good moment so there's no backlash, but you're not the guy. And I think going forward, we're going to see a similar trend with that, where he's not the guy. He'll challenge for the world title again. Don't get me wrong. He'll probably hold the IC title again. He'll be a main event guy in terms of mixing it up, but he's never going to be the guy. I don't even know if he'll be world champion again. And so if you want to be realistic, you got to look at that. You got to go, okay, that's where Jey Uso is right now in his WWE career, where he can still be up there and mixing it up and sharing the spotlight with Roman Reigns and Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed, legit main event guys, and Gunther and all of them. But he's not going to be the guy, right? Like, I think we can all agree the reason that Roman went over on Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker is because, or excuse me, why Jey Uso went over those guys is because he was teaming with Roman Reigns, right? And they are very protective with Roman Reigns because he's one of their biggest stars, and that is fine. And if you want a situation in which Jey Uso is a guy that can continue this momentum, he's going to need some adversity. He's a babyface, right? So where they go from here is going to be very, very fascinating with him. Like, is he going to still work with Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed and Seth Rollins? Roman is taking time off. So I don't know. Like, if I'm booking this just from the perspective of, hey, let's keep Jey Uso strong, I would really, really consider and go ahead with it of let's get him away from Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed. Let's move him into a direction in which maybe he goes back after the IC title, or maybe he just has a separate non-title feud in which he can work with someone on the rise or someone established, win the feud, get over in the feud, and then you kind of move on from there, right? Like, let's just kind of reset him instead of these high profile feuds where he wins and then he loses, or he wins and it doesn't matter. Let's just getting a win, right? Like let's have a good storyline. Let's have a good feud and still have him be a popular guy that sells a bunch of merch and moves numbers on social media. That would be the direction that I would go in with Jey Uso, but I'm very curious to see what WWE ends up doing with Jey Uso.